Yo, oh my God, I have to update my Minecraft. I have to get off here in like 30 minutes, so hopefully it speeds up. We're gonna listen to Terrence
I'm going to
McKenna,
show you guys how.
not an advertisement, McKenna. There we go. Bass, love this dude. I'm
Novelty
I'm pretty sure he's the psychedelic version of an anarchist, pretty much. He doesn't really like authority, but he also denounces ideology. But in essence, he has his own ideals and ideology. So, in essence, he has his own thought-provoking thoughts. And I really like McKenna and his theories and like stuff like that, because I think I kind of find myself in common with the ideology of McKenna. I think he really is an anarchist. It's just he wasn't really to proclaim it on
is
ideologies.
not necessarily good or nice. Novelty is complex. That's what it is. And so I
Oh, this is
see
after
really
school.
a
This is
concatenation.
oh, this ain't even the one that I clicked on. I clicked on Stone Ape Theory. What the hell?
Are you an inventor, or do you have an idea that you know will sell, but just aren't?
Okay, end of
There we go.
introduction. Here's the scenario, and I hope it has special resonance
He
for this community.
his voice though, his voice. I can't. He sounds weird, but I mean I like his ideas, but he just sounds weird. Like his face does not match his voice. Like he has like a full-on beard going and he sounds just like he wouldn't.
All animal species tend to evolve into an ecological niche and stabilize themselves there. Ants and termites have been at equilibrium for hundreds of millions of years. Our remote ancestors also were on a direct course toward that kind of dynamic equilibrium. We were evolving toward being fruit-eating, canopy-living, insectivorous primates with an advanced repertoire of pack signals, and this was apparently to be our evolutionary destiny. Were it
Oh,
not for
what
the
the fuck
fact
is that?
that
Oh,
sometime in the last 5 million
stupid.
years or so, the African
Where am
continent,
I?
which was the site of our environmental proto-system, began to dry up. And the forests that had always been our arboreal home began to shrink. And what this
Man, these
spelled
things
for
have
our
a
remote
very distinct
proto-hominid
taste.
ancestors was nutritional pressure. There wasn't enough food.
Oh, I don't have a bed.
Our remote ancestors began descending from the canopy and exploring the new environment that the aridity was bringing into existence, a grassland environment, an environment of limited numbers of plant and animal species relative to the climax tropical rainforests that were in retreat. Now,
Oh,
the reason animals specialize their food supply is to avoid contact with mutagens in the environment. If you begin experimenting with foods and begin eating everything, you will produce more children with mutations. Some of these mutations will be positive, most will be lethal. When our remote ancestors came under nutritional pressure, they began expanding their diet. This was the moment when we became partially carnivorous, when we became omnivores. And had I more time, I would lay out many examples of specific plants, such as plants that contain birth control alkaloids and things like that, specific plants that would have impacted early human emergence. But I want to concentrate here on one plant, and that is the psilocybin-containing mushrooms that grow in the dung of cattle. Because I think that if we're looking for a missing link, it isn't a transitional skeleton, it isn't meddling by extraterrestrials, at least not of the overt 1,000-ton beryllium ship variety. It has to do with the fact that we began to allow into our diet an exotic pseudo-neurotransmitter that was part of the native flora of the grassland. And I believe that, in the next 10 minutes, I can at least make it seem plausible to you that this mushroom was the triggering factor that moved us from being an advanced hominid, an advanced animal, to being, in fact, a conscious, self-reflecting, caring, thinking, dreaming, striving human being. And here is my answer to this riddle: where did human consciousness come from? It begins like this. In that foraging phase where we were testing all kinds of plants on the grassland, small amounts of psilocybin mushrooms would have naturally been eaten in the process of eating corms and things like that. I personally have seen baboons in Kenya investigating cow paddies on the savannah because they know...
Oh, that actually brings up something. Literally, monkeys being frat bros, they literally made alcohol. If they're so sophisticated to make alcohol and be addicted to it, they're sophisticated enough to eat psilocybin mushrooms. I'm gonna be honest. Monkeys are literally just frat bros in the jungle. Anyways, Terrence, you can
know that bug pupa will be under the cow patties. So the cow patties are already set up as vectors for possible sources of nutrition. So there is no question that these proto-hominids would have eaten psilocybin in small amounts. And by small amounts, I mean amounts so small that if you were to eat that much, you would feel nothing. But this dose level has been studied, and it causes increased acuity of vision. You can actually give people small amounts of psilocybin and then give them eye tests, and they do better if they're slightly intoxicated than if they are not.
Yeah, I do better on actual school tests with the substance. Yeah, McKenna actually has a point there. Probably one of the reasons why I'm going to be graduating this year, along with caffeine. Like, I literally got like 10 or 20 tests done in one day of schoolwork, and I was having fun. Something I'd never say normally, but I was really, really high, so I was having fun learning, surprisingly. I usually like learning at home. Oh. Well, after destroying the environment, sadly, just for a quick buck, aka, some logs, time to raid a village and plunder it for all of its resources. Because, that's just the thing you do. They're better bad, orange one. Using the flush of my enemies. Oh yeah, I forgot to unpause it.
The guy who proved this, the Viennese psychologist Roland Fischer, when he described these experiments to me, he said, "And so you see, my young friend, here we have a case where the use of drugs actually introduces us to a more true vision of reality than if we have avoided the drug."
Yeah, drugs is such a taboo
Scientific
topic,
proof.
right?
that the drug is telling you more about reality than if you had refused it. All right.
Here you go,
Now,
man. You can take
what
this one.
kind
I'll
of
take this
visual
one.
acuity is it that is being
Bruh,
improved?
really?
Well, it turns out it's what's called edge
I'm like
detection.
trading. Yeah,
In the
I
grassland
totally didn't
environment,
steal this.
where the movement of small animals means dinner, and the movement of large animals means you become dinner, a plant which
I like the
confers
red one, not
increased
the brown
visual
one. The brown one
acuity
looked like
is going to immediately confer an adaptive advantage on those members of the group that let it in. Those members of the group that refuse it out of aesthetic or gastronomic reasons will tend to be outbred, because the psilocybin-using members of the species will be more successful at obtaining food and at surviving to raise their own children to reproductive age, which is the name of the game in evolution. So that's step one of a three-step process that leads to the explosion of consciousness in the hominid brain. Step two, which should have special appeal for this crowd, is that when you take slightly larger doses of psilocybin, not religiously profound doses, but doses which you definitely feel. Psilocybin is what's called a CNS stimulant, a central nervous system stimulant. What it causes in animals is what neurophysiologists call arousal. And in highly sexed animals like primates, arousal means, in the male, erection. Yeah. So an animal then which is allowing what is essentially a sexual stimulant or an aphrodisiac to enter into the diet, there will be more instances of what anthropologists call successful copulations. And God knows we need that. So if you have more successful...
It's not a sexual drug. Like, it's not like cocaine or something you pop it and then all of a sudden, you know, boom, bada bang. Like, no, that's not what that is. I should know. I take them. I mean, what? Anyways, yeah, like, that's not how it is. Like, Enigma doesn't do that. Golden Teacher doesn't do that for me. Louis Vuitton, Shiitake Ape, like, none of that did that for me. Like, but then again, my sex drive wasn't really that high either, so maybe he just had a higher sex drive than me. I don't know. Fucking weird though. You have to take a drug just to get an erection, and you're publicly announcing said thing. It's just a little weird. But I mean, like, some of his ideas I agree with. I just think he's a little extreme and overboard.
Copulations, you have more pregnancies. You have a second factor, outbreeding the non-psilocybin using member of the population. Now, something really important here that is well, this whole thing is my theory, but here's the part of it that I like the best. All primates have what are called dominance hierarchies, or male dominance hierarchies. This goes right back clear to lemurs and the old world monkeys, which are much more, the new world monkeys, which are more primitive. All primates have this dominance hierarchy, and what it means is the sharp-fanged, hard-bodied young males, they control the women, the children, the elderly, all sexual minorities. Everybody is under the thumb of the alpha males. And as we sit here
I'm
today,
trying not to
though
laugh.
this community may strive to be an
I'm
exception,
trying not to laugh.
as a society, male dominance is an enormous
Oh my God.
dilemma for us and an enormous distorting factor in our politics and in our lives. So my notion is that psilocybin, by promoting this polymorphic sexual style, actually acted as an inoculation against monogamous sexual styles of bonding, you see. And it isn't that...
So now he's going into polyamory and how psilocybin developed polyamory, which no, no. At least I don't feel that way.
the monogamous style, the dominator style, disappeared. It was simply medicated out of existence for perhaps 100,000 years. It was medicated out of existence. Now, and what it promoted, this arousal, this psilocybin taking around the African campfires by these primitive nomadic pastoralists, what the social change that came with it was an orgiastic sexual style. A style where everybody would get loaded around the campfire and then hump in an enormous writhing heap. Now, yes, now...
I feel like
now,
this dude is really perverted. Like, his ideal is really perverted, which, yeah, a lot of people's ideals back then were perverted. But I do agree with some of the stuff he said. Like, stoned ape theory, I really think it's food for thought, some of the things he says. Except for when it comes to sex. Get this man away from that. Like, how are you gonna be a gooner and a fucking, like, grass toucher? Like, pick a lane, bro. Uh,
Besides the fact that this is a great deal of fun, it has a very, very profound social effect, which is, in societies which allow orgy, men cannot trace lines of male paternity. Men cannot trace lines of male paternity. What does this mean? It means that men do not identify with children as property. It means that the men of that kind of a social group can only think in terms of our children. We, the group, our children. And it creates an immensely cohesive social glue that I believe held these societies together for millennia. And I believe that during this period of pharmacological suppression of male dominance, we became human beings. Theater, poetry, magic, art,
which is way more extreme than fucking communism. So an anarcho-communalist? Is that what it's called? Confess. Ideologies. Communalism. I kind of knew about Ingsoc before it was popular because I read George Orwell 1984. Fuck, okay. Yeah, communalism. That's exactly the ideology too. Okay. So this dude's a communalist.
Altruism, dance, symbolic and cognitive activity of every sort was born in that window of opportunity when there was.
I don't think a parent should have more than one fucking parent. I think that fucks up a child's development. But I mean, stone ape theory. I mean, it's plausible that he developed consciousness through eating psilocybin mushrooms. It's plausible. I mean, like, look at what apes eat right now. They're literally eating rotten fruit because they know it's fucking alcohol. Like they literally created a method to create alcohol. Like they're that sophisticated now. So I mean, it's plausible. However, is there recorded evidence of it? I'm not sure. I wouldn't know. What do I look like, a scientist? I'm a random ass dude on the internet, like a stoner. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Uh, what is this? Cow. I'm gonna milk you. Can you not? There we go. Alright. Well, I debated about enslaving you guys, but I'm gonna leave you to your own devices. However, yeah, I'm not even gonna bother playing that Iron Golem, to be honest. It's just kind of redundant. You're soon. I gotta go in like 5, 10 minutes. Ooh, perfect. Perfect. Not to go on. I'm alive. Alright, we left the savannah, or whatever volume, and now we're going into the caves. Low key, this is like giving me vibes of like World of Warcraft. Oh my god, this doesn't go as far down as I thought it would. Slightly annoying. Oh well, I didn't have enough. Mmm, mmm, lemon tech. Makeshift lemon tech. Yummy. Coca-Cola. Man, not many people do the things I do. Like, I'm pretty sure most people that do Mario mushrooms do not mix this shit with Coca-Cola to make it hit faster and stronger. Like, and mix it with weed and morning glories. I'm pretty sure the average person doesn't really do that for themselves. However, I am built different. I can take a few grams of morning glories and mushrooms and then come out the other end completely fine, and then do it again and again and again. Very fun. What is this? Hmm. Hmm. Let's see here. There's horses. There's pigs. Cat. I'm joking. Sort of. Anyway. Then there's more of this shit over that way. So I'm gonna go that way actually. Eventually I'll come back to the savannah biome so I can kidnap villagers for profit. Because that's the name of this game. You gotta do what you gotta do. It's pretty much like how the game's played. You kidnap a few villagers, you force them to buy your sticks until you can get diamond armor. Whoa, that's fun. Sky. Minecraft. Ah, that's a birch fort. No, actually, yeah, it's mixed. It's got too many birch trees, though, in my opinion. Fucking ugly bot. This is a perfect place to set up shop. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna make a nice little humble abode, you know. Get in there. But please. Why won't the bed go in there? Everything else will. What the hell? Just throw all this garbage in here. Put on my inventory. Alright, there we go. Now this is gonna be a little shitty house. Not gonna be, you know, forever. It's just a temporary build. It's gonna be an old style house, of course. My old style of building. Ooh, lava. Classic style of Minecraft building. Where you put the oak logs like this. Some people run around with those still build like this. It's not one of my best builds, but like I said, it's a temporary house. Not supposed to look good. Okay, furnace. And this. Actually, can I move that? Thank you. And then I'm gonna put a chest over here. That's where else I'm gonna put the shit. Then I'm gonna put that over there.